Good morning, everyone. In last video, we have discussed this particular poem, "The Village Schoolmaster" by Oliver Goldsmith, line by line, word to word. So, I want to give some commentary or some detailed explanation about this particular poem. So, this is an extract from a longer poem by Oliver Goldsmith called "The Deserted Village," one of the best known poems of the 18th century. To some extent, this passage, the portrait of an agreeable village school teacher, need to be set in context. The village Goldsmith is writing about, he calls Auburn. It probably wasn't a single real village, but was an imaginary ideal one, created nonetheless from villages he has observed. The village he imagined is now deserted because all the people have immigrated, the main reason being the enclosure or privatization of their land by rich people. There was a lot of land in 18th century England that was either owned in common or which didn't have clear ownership and which was just wasteland. Gradually, lots of it was taken into private ownership and fenced off, and in this process, poor people could lose their precarious livelihood or be displaced to towns or, in this case, overseas. What was actually going on is much disputed by historians, usually because of their political differences. But what Goldsmith thought was going on is clear from what he says elsewhere in the poem, because this in longer poem in Deserted Village, there he says, "Those fenceless fields, the sun of wealth divide." Goldsmith returned to the village that he knew as vibrant and alive, and find it deserted and overgrown. He remembers the good thing of village life, including his affectionate, if humorous, portrait of the schoolmaster. The schoolmaster is big presence in the village in an age when literacy and numeracy were powerful things, when many were illiterate and innumerate. Then the rustics, the ordinary working class people of the village, look up to schoolmaster he seems a kind of god. The children are quite scared of him. They laugh at his jokes. Even if they are not funny, the adults are impressed by the way he can serve a field, land he could measure, as we have seen, how he can work out boundaries at times of holidays like Easter, or the times of holidays like Easter. He can even do more complex calculation. Of course, this is all ironic. The school teacher isn't that knowledgeable. He just seems very knowledgeable to the gauging rustics. The poem is in the form of rhyming pentameter couplets, sometimes called heroic couplet, the favorite poetic form of 18th century. One 10-syllable line is followed by another with an end rhyme straight away. This is a balanced and symmetrical verse form in which each two lines, 20 syllable in all, make up a kind of unit of meaning, the couplet. The couplet here are mainly close couplet in that, for the most part, each couplet ends with the pause and is unit of sense in itself. For example, we can uh, uh, read the following lines. Full well they laughed with counterfeited glee at all his jokes, for many jokes had he. As you can see, full well they laughed with counterfeited glee at all his jokes, for many a jokes had he. This is couplet. You see the rhyming scheme there. The both lines are rhymed together. Each line each line has the 10 syllables, means 5 meter. 5 meter means pentameter. This is couplet, close couplet, because it is complete in meaning, in the sense of meaning. That's why it is called closed couplet. It is also called heroic couplet. As you can see, that is the unit of sense. In this case, a sentence, it tells us one thing and tells it to us with a certain wit and point. The village schoolmaster also shows the other characteristics of the preferred style of 18th century. The particular poem Village Schoolmaster. The diction means language, the words used in the particular poem. Vocabulary is carefully chosen so as not to include the colloquial or vulgar words. Colloquial means rustics, they are generally used by the rustic peoples. Vulgar words. It keeps a quite modest but elevated tone without any common or slang words intruding. What do you think of this style? There are also some inversion of word order. For instance, in the line 17, where the object comes before the word, we would say, he could measure land. He could measure land. In this way, this particular sentence should be read. But the most important effect is still the rhythmic one, the balance of the couplet form. Even the pause in the line can have the graceful effect. In the following couplet, the pause in the first line break the line after 6 syllables, while the concluding line of the couplet break the line after 4 syllables, so creating a symmetry. A man saver he was, and stern to view, I knew him well, and every twant. Oh, this is the style of writing, we can say, and famous in 18th century in England. The poem jokes are gentle jokes, wry and genial, not big belly laugh, big gags. The tone of the poem is balanced and genial, and that geniality, full of gentleness and humor, implies a frame of mind, a way of viewing things that Goldsmith sees as important, as having more value in itself. In one sense, of course, the Goldsmith is gently mocking the schoolmaster. He is big fish. He is big fish in small pond. It's very easy for him to impress the villager with his learning, just because he can read a bit of Latin and know how to do his sums. The person as a religious the person as a religious leader of village is of course the most respected man. But the schoolmaster loves a good argument with him and keeps arguing even when he is obviously lost. On the other hand, this is loving in endearing portrait. Here is a man who, beneath it all, is really modest and doing a good job in quiet and simple place, helping to spread a little literacy and numeracy among the ordinary people of village, helping them out in doing calculation about terms and so forth. He is at the center of community. The goldsmith is mourning the passing away of that community. The passing away of the village itself, now run down and deserted. That's why the lovely yellow flower on the firs are unprofitably gay. There are There is now no one about to enjoy their beauty. The schoolmaster is gone long ago with all the children of his school. The fine community has been lost. So, this is an affectionate and portrait of a community that is no more, and the schoolhouse now deserted. The affectionate portrait of the schoolmaster is a part of this world that has passed away. Some think of Goldsmith as a relatively light poet, not particularly profound. Goldsmith threw a sunshine over all his pictures. It is said by Robert Southey. Thomas Carlyle also said about the Goldsmith. He said he was pure, clear, and generous, but that he lacked the depth or strength. If we should agree with this statement, this may be quite light verse, but it is brimful of moral values. Schoolmaster is no doubt a little pompous, but thought he mocks that Goldsmith shows a good man, doing a good job, being quietly useful to the community about him, and that is the part of his larger meaning. Oliver Goldsmith felt that England was England was becoming obsessed with the trade and creating wealth, and that in this new imperial capitalist England, the ordinary ruler poor were getting a raw deal. He wrote his poem to warn against the rage of gain. In other words, the useless over accumulation of wealth that set wealth over people. Schoolmaster is part of that good word that he believes is being done away with the spirit of England before the spirit of capitalism took hold. He creates an affectionate portrait that implies the modest, truthful, humble world of community that he admired best. So, dear student, at the end, we can say that the pen portrait of the village schoolmaster is humorous and the same time enduring and lovable. People all had accepted that he was knowledgeable person. The schoolmaster was strict. In nutshell, we can say in the summary, the schoolmaster was strict, and the school was situated in an outskirt of the village. Schoolmaster was strict and severe. The students were afraid of him, and they were sufficiently clever to access from the face whether that day would bring any misfortune or not. In spite of his strictness, the schoolmaster was kind, and the children laughed at his jokes with a pretended joy. If they noticed any sign of anger in his face, then they would spread the news throughout the classroom. His only fault was his excessive love for learning. Schoolmaster could write workout sons, survey land, forecast time and tide, and measure land. He was master at argument also. He used more words than necessary when he talked, and simple village people, they were amazed that such a small head could carry such an enormous hoard of knowledge. Thank you.